All right, so our handsome Mr. Z did have to go out for a little potty break. Ready, Zeus? Nice job, come. Good boy. So he should be good and empty now. But I wanted to continue where we kind of left off with some of these novel and or not novel, but continue to practice the different, textures and feels to the equipment. Zeus says he'd like to bring a chew over potentially. Zeus, ready? Come. Good boy. Nice job. So with Mr. Z, as I was mentioning earlier, we want to be careful that the pups, again, are doing things at their comfort range and their abilities. So if you're finding that your puppy is only doing something because you're luring them into it, find it, then you may by accident be creating some anxiety around even food. So if, let's say, your puppy was nervous about any of these items, just hanging out and meandering, and then at their rate, maybe doing some find its in and around the items, but you don't have to go right into the bucket if, let's say, your puppy was nervous. If at times all on their own, they go and explore an item, you might go, yes, ready, Zeus? And feed him for putting his toes into the bucket. So again, this way you're building up confidence in using his body, but also trying novel things within the environment. Because as they're starting to mature, and again, going from puppyhood into 6 months to about 2 years, give or take, that'll be your teenagehood. And a lot of dogs, as they're entering teenagehood, start to sometimes regress, typically. Doesn't mean they're not trying to listen on purpose. They're just having a little bit of a hard time. He says he will make a nest one day in this dog bed. Thankfully, it's rather durable. Ready, Zeus? He's like, I was just making myself a little nest. But if, let's say, your puppy is having a rough time through adolescence, that's where they do go through, again, another fear period as well. So you may even find that your puppy was comfortable with certain things when they're much younger. And then as they're maturing and developing, all of a sudden things that were comfortable are now surprisingly spooky or overwhelming, and they're having a harder time with stuff. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can do a little bit with our handsome man. Ready? He's like, where am I going? Ready? Pause up. So close. So he's, again, hoping I was doing some find its, but I want him to see if we can, again, he's gotten so big that he's just this awkward, lovely, lanky man. So if he ever has a hard time, I'm just going to reset him up. If, again, you're not as comfortable doing pause up or step up, I typically in the beginning lure the puppy towards the item and then see if I can get him to plop his little foot on there. So in the beginning, if they're, yes, right there, nice. If your puppy's ever a little bit unsure, take your time with them. You may at times have to work it a couple little reps to get them to understand the concept in the first place. So right now I'm just trying to lure him as I'm getting him, yes, to place his toes onto the bowl. He is mostly all legs, and I feel like he doesn't quite always know where his body is going. So we're going to try again. Yes. So anytime he puts his foot up onto the item, again, the benefit of this exercise is getting your puppy to realize they have a front end and a hind end. For a lot of puppies, injuries happen when they don't always realize that they have multiple body parts. So the benefit of your puppy working a bit with the step up or pause up exercise is that later this could turn into pivoting for down the road, or it can also help your puppy feel comfortable putting toes into, let's say, a vehicle or plopping their body onto a scale. So a lot of times having your pup feel comfortable with novelty, ready, pause up, can be very, very helpful for down the road. So again, I'm going to see if I can lure him onto the bowl. He's like, lady, my brain melted. So you'll see that he is very lanky, and I think that's where sometimes he's having a little bit of a harder time right there. Yes. So even if it's not the most beautiful thing you've ever done, we may even find, yes, nice job, is let's say your puppy is having a bit of a harder time with any setup. Break it down into smaller steps. Maybe he targets something that's flat on the ground. You start building up that targeting with your front feet is what we're looking for, and then you apply it back onto the target you were hoping. There can also be the option of sometimes taking a bigger target and helping him. He's going to just go all the way on it, but help him by targeting maybe something that's much wider. For some of the babes, spatially things are harder for them if there's not much space to them. And of course, now he's going to just go ahead and set up on the target here. Nice job. So, but if your pup is not as comfortable or as confident as Mr. Z, it may just take a few little sessions to try something new. So you could even just have your puppy be doing find its in and around novel items, and just have it be fun to be in the space and not have it be where there is an agenda where they have to do an item. So again, we're going to see if we can do another little pause up. Yes, nice job. Good boy. So here, if he's doing a nice job, I might, again, go yes and feed a couple little rapid fire little tidbits to build up that there's a lot of value in trying the pause up. So again, we might go again to the next little pause up. Yes, and then feed for that. Beautiful. So now he's like, oh, okay, I remember this now. So remember that if your puppy has taken a little recess from doing a skill, pause up, then it might take them a few moments to regain the ability. So ready? I'm going to see if I can lure him. He's like, do you want me to sit? That is a very nice sit. So if, again, there's moments where your puppies don't always catch on to the skill you're working, no big deal. See if you can ask again, maybe in a different method, yes, and see if that makes a little bit more sense. So luring, for example, might be more comfortable for him than in the beginning. Again, free shaping. So again, you just kind of have to figure out what your babe tends to gravitate towards and go from there. So ready, pause up. He's like, oh, how about a sitting? So again, if I lose him, I might just get him up, do a little find it, and try again from this angle. Ready? Close. Right there. Yes. Nice job. So when practicing with him, obviously, if you don't have some of this like junk lying around, you can use any household items. So maybe you've got a step stool. I would make sure the step stool is very stable and isn't one that collapses, but also that the step stool has traction and won't slip and slide. For some puppies, if something underneath them all of a sudden moves, that can be very overwhelming. So we want to make sure that the puppies are not flustered by trying something novel. So right here, this is an agility ladder, but I have it upside down. So for right now, he's just practicing moving in and around it, and it's right now flat on the floor. As he gets more comfortable and he starts to realize where to potentially put those lovely big feet of his, then I might flip it over. And the benefit of a ladder or an agility ladder, or even just a ladder from home and you plop it out in your yard, is it can start to help your puppy realize, again, they've got a front end and a hind end. In general, it's just great practice to try new things to get your puppy comfortable, yes, with novelty. So he's doing kind of well with the ladder. He's like, I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to do a little find it just to get him up and out of the way. I'm going to flip it over. So now it's up and sort of raised above the floor. If this was, of course, too big for some puppies, that's where using sometimes these, of course, the legs do come off. So if you had to really keep it lower, you definitely could. So ready, ladder. He's like, my brain. So if, again, your puppy's giving it a try at any point, feed for anything, even if it's not the prettiest thing you've ever done. Nice. So right here, very pretty. Yes. So notice how, again, he's trying his darndest to pick up each individual leg. Ready? Ladder. Yes. And this can be really helpful to avoid potential injuries down the road. For a lot of puppies, ready, ladder. If they don't quite know about their body, that's when sometimes hiccups do arise, where they go too hard into something, or they turn and pivot, but they're not even really thinking about how they're rocking their physique. At that point, that's where those potentials for injuries can occur. So ready, ladder. And the ladder is one of my guys' favorites. Nice. So I don't even care if he sometimes takes a little break or takes a step off of it. If the ladder was much more difficult, you could also do this, for example, just across the short way. So if, let's say, my dog was a little bit nervous, I'm just going to do a little find it so I can maybe move the cot out of the way so people can see the ladder a little bit better. Oh, that's a bit noisy. We'll move him by picking him up. I love, he's like, I'll just step on anything that's available. So if your puppy's not as confident or as resilient as Mr. Z is with all these novel things, you may find, that's a very nice job, is you may find that, starting small, really beneficial for everybody involved, so you're not rushing and overwhelming the puppies. Ready, Zeus? Nice job. Great little check-in. So we'll try again. He's like, do we have to? He's probably getting a little bit tired. Ready, Zeusy? Ready? Ladder. He's like, how about side passing? That's a little bit more of a wild man ladder, but that's not bad. So if he does get a little bit crooked, I might start him off right in front and then keep the lure sort of off in the distance so he can still use his body and see where he's going. Yes. And then capture those little moments where he's doing a really nice job and feed him right as he's rocking it. Is that your bed? It's like, let's just do a place behavior because he's exhausted. So obviously when trying novelty, keep it within your puppy spectrum of comfort. make sure that we're not rushing steps and don't always have like a game plan per se. I think it'd be really nice to be fluid in what you're attempting to work on. If it's always you have a certain plan and it's not going the direction you were hoping, it can sometimes lead to more frustration for you, and then sometimes not the greatest session for them while they're trying to figure out anything new. Remember that training is not linear. So it's going to have flow and give and take, and then sometimes you move forward a few steps, backwards, sometimes to the side. And as you're dealing with developmental changes and adolescence, you're going to run into more little hiccups here and there. But I would recommend, as long as you keep yourselves or the environment consistent, as your puppy sometimes is changing, it helps them get back into the groove of feeling comfortable, confident, and reliable. So, but remember, if they're struggling, try to lower the criteria, set them up for success, and make sure you've actually practiced the skills before you were hoping to get them in the real world dynamic. Otherwise, training when you need it is not always the greatest option, but practicing and refining skills before you actually needed them is much, much better for attaining the behavior, but also for mastering the skill for other places down the road. So we'll give Mr. Z a little breather. I think he did a really nice job, again, with some of these items, even though they're not really novel to him, but he's kind of working through it as his body has been changing, and he's turned into pretty much just a gazelle. So he did a very nice job.